The National Peace Council is calling for a ceasefire in the Bawku conflict. Member of the council, Sheikh Arumeyao Shaibu, said the intervention of the Asantehene is equally needed to restore calm. Speaking on the probe with MFR Pau last night, Sheikh Arumeyao said he believes the conflict is depriving innocent citizens of their lives and development in general. We'll hear from him shortly, but first, calls for government to tackle the conflict differently keeps increasing. According to experts, leaving the matter in the hands of politicians will only be aggravated. Security consultant Professor Aning, for instance, believes such political inclinations makes it difficult to arrive at a holistic approach to resolving the violence. Many have raised concerns over the inability of successive governments to eliminate the root cause of the problem completely. However, speaking on JoyNews' AM show, Professor Aning said he believes the lack of a dispassionate approach makes it difficult for that to happen.
This will not be the last time. Actually, it's going to escalate dramatically, depending on how we respond to the latest challenges. Bawku has been allowed to fester over the decades, and the approach first to understanding what is driving the crisis, the way it may have transformed over time, how outsiders and conflict profiteers may be exploiting the challenges and diverting attention from the critical issues at stake and leading those who ought to respond in directions that do not touch the core of the problem. Bawku is fascinating because it exposes the shallowness of how we are looking at this problem. So it's been an ethnic conflict between two major groups. It's been, relating to chieftaincy, identity, access to land, but also, of course, if the stories that we are hearing about the latest incidents, access to military-style weaponry. Now, almost every category of explanatory framework that I have provided, were we to disaggregate them, leads to even more confusion, but certainly gives us a sense that we are not tackling this problem the way that it ought to be tackled. Unfortunately, when crises do happen and emotions get involved, then disentangling it becomes very difficult. There is another factor that we need to understand. And that factor is that over time, and this is what I have mentioned earlier on tangentially, is that social media is playing a role that sometimes, or more often than not, is not very helpful. Because the speed with which false information, the help of AI, manipulated visuals can be placed in the public domain, that of course, ordinary people will accept, propagate, and then also forward, just to those who will sit around the table to look at the economies of scale involving these commodities that I have mentioned. Who are the people involved? There are networks in Bawku, because it's easy to manipulate people to take actions that they themselves are not aware of in terms of its multiplier effect. And I would argue very strongly that the unfortunate incidences happening in Bawku are more related to the external manipulation by criminal networks and big criminal networks.
We can now hear from Sheikh Arimea Shaibu on the impact of the conflict in Bawku as he calls for a ceasefire.
It's been said, it is observed that politicians, have been involved in this matter. Whenever there's a change of government, one group thinks that our government is in now and we can get what we want. But because of the sensitivity of the matter, we try to avoid not to be bringing in the political element, but only to advise politicians, to advise politicians, especially politicians that hail from that part of the country, to see the issue of Bawku as a large regional whole problem that requires the input of both MPP MPs and NDC MPs. In fact, they need a certain united front to be able to confront this problem. That is the only means by which they can, if you like, diffuse the politics of it. Because once they don't come together, and sometimes when they speak in public or on the floor of parliament, sometimes the body language and the tone of the discussion is send certain messages to their own people up there, and it doesn't help the situation. So, and then secondly, it appears to me that even with the media, we should stop even bringing in and interviewing these politicians, because anytime you interview a politician, he wants to speak in a certain way that suits a certain section of the community. But that experts in peace are those that, and then other, if you like, stakeholders within the community that work for peace are those that should be brought in the forefront for us to be able to work against this. The media, for example, we know that the media in Bawku, we have been told that sometimes there are certain radio stations, they are divided among themselves. A radio station is more affiliated or inclined towards Kusasi, another radio station is more inclined to Mamprisi, and the toxic messages they send across is enough to incite the people and still keep their emotions high, tension rises, and we are unable to really solve this problem. So I would wish that we really get our politicians from the northern part of the country to establish a certain united front where both NDC and MPP and other political parties who are MPs are now talking collectively about the situation and how the situation is dire and the circumstance that is putting the people of Bawku in. For example, there's one of the painful things I like to share. Very, very young girls, beautiful young girls who have the potential to rise and to become good teachers, good nurses, MPs and so on, are made to run away from Bawku to come down to Accra here. And when they come, you know where they sleep? They do come to do kayae. They sleep in front of shops along the street.
Yes.
And men come to rape them. They give birth to children on the street, feed them on the street, raise them on the street. And these children, when they grow, what do they go from? I have engaged the service of a young girl, and I think she's from that part of the country. She's can become my daughter. Yeah. I asked her to carry my things. I asked her, how much should I pay you? What this girl told me, I mean, I felt so sad. She asked me to give her 5 cedis, and I gave her as much as 50 Ghana cedis. Because I thought, so for this 5 cedis, she's carrying these heavy loads. So that's the plight of our young girls who are running. Schools are not opening. Hospitals are not in operation. Business is stalled. And poverty situation is getting aggravated.